continue to talk a little NFL. Blake Lewis covering the NFL and the Skins. USA Today out there in Indianapolis. I don't know. I mean, maybe he wants to talk about the Washington Wizards and the Capitals. Let me tell you something. Nothing gets by me. Nothing ever gets by me. I mean, come on. You're out there and you want to talk about, what do you want to talk about? Washington out there because they're trying to run away with the Metropolitan? They'll lose in the first round.
Hey, man, listen. I'm not going to even come on here and act like I'm the hockey guru. All right.
We can talk Wizards. Go ahead. What do you got?
Yeah, just want to say, though, that might be the best I've ever seen them look. And they're not one of those teams that are, over peaking. They're just good, Q. I'm telling you, and they have defensemen now. So if they can't do it this year, they're never going to do it.
It's funny, too. It's that old adage, too, with March Madness. You always want your team to peak right around their conference tournament going into March Madness, going into the big dance.
Right.
So interesting. Yeah, Wizards are playing pretty good as well. All right. What do you got going on down there? I know you're out at the Combine. Let me ask you this. From a Washington standpoint, first and foremost, how about the news with Kirk Cousins? Are they going to be able to iron out a long-term deal? Because it seems as though, first of all, is there any legitimacy to the fact that they are thinking about trading Kirk Cousins and he would prefer San Francisco? That's the first question.
I can tell you there's a lot of truth to that. And I from some people that I've talked to, it's not that he doesn't like Washington. He loves the area, loves the fan base. But at the end of the day, he wants what he feels like he's deserved as far as his play. And it's funny because I was just talking to two guys here. Actually, one covers the Eagles, up your way, Teron Davenport. And,
Yep.
and we were sitting next to each other and was just talking. And he's like, you can't pay him that kind of money. And I'm like, listen, this isn't a normal dynamic here. First of all, you don't have 30-year-old guys. He'll be 30 before the season starts. You don't have 30-year-olds, hitting their prime or not hitting their prime. In other words, I'm sorry. He's a guy, Q, that, listen, 2 straight seasons he's thrown for almost 9,000 yards. And I understand a lot of it's predicated in the system that he's in, Jay Gruden's system, but you can't knock what he's done. And I think if you're the Redskins, you're in a bad position here because for 30 years you've been looking for a quarterback. They haven't had a quarterback that's had 2 straight solid seasons since Joe Theismann.
Yep.
You got to go back to like the early 80s.
When they went to back-to-back Super Bowls, yep.
Absolutely. So, this guy's led them to 2 back-to-back winning seasons for the first time ever since Dan Snyder's owned the team. They were a game away from missing the playoffs. They lost to your guys, the Giants. But I'll say this. They've been in positions to win games every week. And I think I didn't mean to cut you off,
but I think you mentioned that Giant game. I think that's the lasting image, right? Those late picks, the 2 or 3 picks to Cromartie. And when the chips were, when the game was on the line, the perception is he folded. He couldn't get the job done. Now, I think he's a good quarterback. I've always been a fan of Kirk Cousins, but
I've had guys in the locker room. I can't mention names. I've had guys in the locker room tell me that he definitely has some anxiety things go on in the big games, and they love him. They like him as a person, but some of them question, can he get out of the way of his own mistakes in those big games? And you can't pay a guy to be one of the top 5 or 6 paid quarterbacks in the league, long-term deal, and he not produce in the postseason or even get you to the postseason. You can't do it, especially for a team that has no defense. I mean, a team that right now they only have 3 guys under contract on their defensive line for next season. 2 of those were rookies that were on the practice squad. So, yeah, you don't want to put all your money in, all your eggs in one basket, and then you don't have a basket to hold that egg in. I mean, and that's what's going to happen here if they overpay. I think the Redskins, the perception is they're being the Redskins. They're being cheap. They're being, they're screwing over a good thing. I don't think that that's necessarily the case. I think this is actually where now you have football people in the building who are trying to make a wise decision that's not mortgaging the future of the franchise.
Does it play into Is it beneficial now with this tag for Cousins for the year? Is it? I'm trying to think of the wording on this one. Does it make it more likely now that because it would potentially be a year if they can't iron out a long-term contract that Garcon and Jackson return with the Skins? Or is this, well, we don't know if we're going to have a quarterback going forward, so let's, especially Desean Jackson, let's test the market out there.
That's a great question. That's a great question. But I'll tell you this. If you gave people truth serum, and I mean, I'm just being blunt here. If you gave people truth serum and said that one man not coming back frees up more money for you, both those guys would re-sign with the Redskins if you were quarterbacking.
I got you.
Because at the end of the day, it's about getting paid.
Yep.
And those guys this is their last big contract. So they're about getting their money first. And this is not saying they don't want to win, but they want to get their money first. And that's a fact. So do they think that they can win with Colt McCoy? He's the guy that the people aren't talking about. Everyone talks about trading to get a quarterback. A lot of people in town, and I'm a guy that covered the guy here. He knows the system. He's been in the system now. This will be his 4th year. He's had some success when he did start. He won a Monday night game against the Cowboys, and he's a little bit more mobile. I just think Jay Gruden in this offense, he can do some things with any quarterback. I think that's just the way it goes. Look at what he did with Andy Dalton in Cincinnati. I mean, the offense is predicated on the quarterback throwing high percentage short routes, things of that nature, which most NFL quarterbacks can do. So I think that, in this situation, they may already have their quarterback on their roster. And you know what? If you keep a guy who's been in the system, that guys love Colt McCoy in the locker room, you're talking about the difference of maybe $15 million that you can go do some other stuff with. That's a big hit.
Let me ask you one more on the Skins and on Desean Jackson. What do you think? How do you think this is going to play out with Desean Jackson? Because again, in our backyard, you read and you hear a couple different things that it would be a great story. No, I don't. They can or cannot.
They can't afford.
No, I agree with you.
The Eagles have the least amount of cap money,
and the money that he's going to want. I mean, he's 30 years old. He's probably going to want what? 5 years. Go ahead.
He's going to want just do it on a yearly basis. He's going to want $8 million minimum. And
I can't do that. No,
you can't afford that as a young football team. I understand that he would be nice, but you know what? There's a kid out there named John Ross. Draft him. He's from Washington, University of Washington, and to me, he's Desean Jackson on steroids. Meaning, he's Desean Jackson but more physical, and he's just as fast. Now, I'm not knocking Desean because that's my guy here. We're friends, but I will say this. Desean needs to go to a situation where he can go play for a winner. And I mean a team that just needs a piece or two to just go in there and make a huge difference. And, no one's talking about this. I wouldn't be surprised if the Giants made a run out.
I said it the other day. And I got laughed at. And here's the thing. I threw it out there in this regard. I threw it out there where they let go of Victor Cruz right around the same age. Both kind of nicked up here and there. But Desean Jackson has something that Cruz doesn't. He's got the speed.
Absolutely.
And
he's also a guy, too, that he does something that Beckham doesn't even do. Beckham's home run plays are after he caught the ball.
Yards after the catch.
Absolutely. So you're talking about Desean just going out and getting it out the air. And I think that would blow the top off a lot of defenses that we already know it would, but I think it could do something that we've never seen with Beckham.
But then I stopped myself and realized that, and I was talking to a lot of the Giants fans about this, you have more pressing needs, and it does look like they have some guys in there, the Lewises and the young guys that they're going to depend upon. It's just like the whole, and as we talk some more NFL, the whole situation with Adrian Peterson. I don't care what team's out there. I would be very weary. I'm always a little nervous about these running backs hitting 30, coming off those big contracts, that big contract where they typically get hurt, the production goes down. I would not take a flyer on him if I was the Giants. I wouldn't take a flyer on him if I was the Eagles. Same thing as Jamal Charles. I'm very weary of these guys when they hit 30, these running backs that have a lot of wear and tear.
Well, Peterson, for him, I mean, he's a freak of nature. I mean, he's a guy that's going to come back and instantly be one of the top 10 running backs in the game, if not top 5 immediately. He needs to be in a situation, too, though, where he doesn't have to be the bell cow, where he can just be a guy that can come in and even if he starts, just be a guy that can give you 15, 20 carries a game, maybe 20, but not the 30 that he's accustomed to getting and grinding it out. Just to get back to Desean real quick, another team that I'm actually writing something about is we talk about, Kirk possibly having a reunion with Kyle Shanahan.
Right.
Don't forget Desean's history out there too.
Yeah.
I mean, he's a Cali guy, played at Cal Berkeley, and let's face it, name one wide receiver on the 49ers, let alone 2.
Yeah, no. I mean, I don't know. It's one of those situations where I think at the end of the day, Desean Jackson is going to re-sign with the Washington Redskins, and I think, I think they need both those wide receivers. Skins are pretty set at the tight end spot, and I understand these guys are going to command a ton of money. If if you gave me the truth serum, I would rather have Garcon than Desean Jackson. That's just me. I think they do different things. The way the Redskins, and I know you can speak more about this, but the way they run their offense, once they get that ground game going, it automatically opens things up. And I think it opens things up for that tight end as well. But that's just me.
See, I think that if you're going to go, let's just say Josh Doxson is healthy, as he looks to us so far. If he's healthy and he's the guy that they drafted, with that top pick, their number 1 draft pick, you keep Desean and you have him and Doxson be your 2 outside guys, because now you're getting. Listen, I kept telling people this back in minicamp, and they were like, "It's minicamp; they don't have pads on." Okay, I get that, but as far as just from a skill set standpoint, he was their best receiver, Josh Doxson. And I've covered this team for years. He was their best receiver as far as from a sheer talent standpoint. And you pair, a guy that now at 6'2", 6'3", 205 can just go up and get the ball. I mean, it's 41-inch vertical. You don't need Kirk to make every throw to be perfect. You have a guy that can go up and attack the ball, which Desean doesn't do. Desean runs under the ball, so he tracks it down that way. So I think it would just make their offense more dynamic, because the bottom line is the Redskins' 2 biggest weapons are Jordan Reed and Jamison Crowder, and their games are predicated in the middle of the field. So, yeah, man, this is going to be interesting. But I got to tell you, just being here in Indy, I've covered the Combine several times, but this year the buzz is not on just what are the Skins going to do with Cousins. I've had like 4 people ask me as soon as I walked in. The next thing is, why the hell are the Redskins not talking? They're the Patriots, the Saints, and the Redskins are the only 3 teams that have no representatives that are talking to media all week.
Huh. It could be possible.
Not a good look.
No, and you're right. It could be something where maybe there is something that's taken place behind the scenes. But again, you're right. No, you're right. You're right. It's not. Hey, before I let you get out of here real quick, and again, Lake Lewis does a great job covering the NFL. Redskins reporter, USA Today. Follow him on Twitter at Lake Lewis. Also covers the NBA. Real quick, a couple minutes with the NBA. You're seeing what Cleveland's doing over the last month of the season, and I get it. With all the injuries, and Kyrie had a great month of February. LeBron's putting up the numbers. He's logging a ton of minutes. Go to your Washington Wizards for a moment. You look at Toronto, even though they lose Lowry. You got the Celtics. I mean, what team right now do you think can push the Cavs to a 7-game series?
I think if you had to pick one, I actually think it's the Wizards. And I know your fans are like, "Oh,
no." It's the backcourt. I mean, to me, it's John Wall. He's the X factor. I'm pretty high on this Washington team.
Well, they just signed Brandon Jennings too. So that's a huge upgrade for their backup unit, because Trey Burke just wasn't getting it done. And they signed the kid from Brooklyn, Boggiani, who's a really nice scorer at 6'8", 6'9". So now you have a bench now that's not so deficient, that can give some guys, good quality minutes and play with the starters a lot. So from what I saw in that game against Cleveland brought their A game that night, and they needed every bit of LeBron throwing up that mess that went in to send it to overtime. That really showed me something about this Wizards team, and it starts with coaching, Scotty Brooks. I mean, he's changed the dynamic of that team. They are fun to watch now. They really look like a poor man's Golden State as far as how they're letting everyone shoot threes and score. And it's just fun basketball.
And I'll tell you this too: the kid out of Philly, the kid that went to Kansas, Morris. All of a sudden, he's playing both sides of the floor. He's rebounding. You look up 23, 21, 22. You mentioned, you got Wall, you got Beal. I mean, Jennings is probably going to come off the bench and have like 16 points in the fourth quarter because he couldn't do anything with the Knicks.
Yeah. I mean, but he's a scorer, and he's a guy that they don't want him to do anything else but come in on second unit, score. And it's good for the Wizards long term, because John Wall's been putting up 36, 37 minutes a game, 40 sometimes. Now you can get him 32, 33 minutes and really have a quality score where you're not having a huge drop-off, as far as offensive production. So that's a good move for them, and it'll be interesting. They had a big win last night against Golden State. Yeah, Kevin Durant got hurt, but last time I looked, that's the rest of those guys won a championship 2 years ago.
They did, without him. So, all right, listen, I'm up against it. Enjoy Indy. We'll talk next week. We'll get a little more info, and like I said, if anything breaks, let us know. Give a ring back, and look forward to some of those articles as well.
All right, man. I appreciate it. Take care.
You got it. Be safe. All right, you got it. Lake Lewis, Redskins Wire, also USA Today.